Welcome in, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, Friday, February the 6th, as we get set for Super Bowl weekend. We will discuss later in the show your Super Bowl viewing habits, how those have changed, if they will change this year, how dependent is that on the teams that will go or play or be a part of it. And what was the conversation yesterday, McElroy? Your son wants to go to the Super Bowl and you're not taking him?
Yeah, no, terrible dad. Yeah, the worst dad ever.
Oh, he thinks you're a bad dad because you're not taking him?
Every dad that won't take their son to the Super Bowl this year is a bad dad.
So that's me times three?
Yeah, that's you times three. That's me times three. That's everybody. No,
it kind of egregious for you to take May to the Super Bowl. I don't.
May since birth.
On.
May since birth has been a diehard Seahawks fan. So I feel like
she
I really
loves Gray Zabel.
That's exactly what it is. No, she's been a huge fan of Zach Charbonnet. And I know he's out, but that's why we're not going, because Charbonnet's out.
Well, Kenneth Walker's an overachiever, so it's hard not to
Dude, here's the thing, though. When we had this conversation yesterday, I need your take on this. Like, I think our kids, and look, we're lucky to do what we do. We are so, so grateful and lucky to have the jobs that we have. And my son thinks that nothing as it relates to sports is prohibitive. He's amazed that I didn't take him to the UAB game last night. I was like, buddy, it tips at 8 o'clock. Your bedtime is 8 o'clock. Like, he thinks that because dad works in sports, we can just do whatever we want and go to whatever we want, and why can't we just go on the field? Like, that's what we do when we go to Bama games. Why can't we just do that? He doesn't understand why we can't just go. He told me last night, he goes, I would like to go to the Notre Dame spring game. I'm like, how are we going to do that? Like what? This is not, I would like to go to the Super Bowl. I understand you want to go to the Super Bowl, buddy, but there are like prohibitive measures in place that make doing that very difficult. And have you dealt with that with your kids at all?
We discuss it's brought up often of wanting to go and do certain things, and I mean we have certain things that we've talked about that we want to kind of do together. Like we've talked about trying to get to every baseball stadium before they graduate high school. Things of that nature, but it hasn't blown up in my face to this extent, sort of. Now, I will say one of the bigger issues that we have because of some of the things that you mentioned is like my kids don't have a real feel for just going to a game as a normal human would, because a lot of the games that we do go to, our access is a little bit different, or we know people, and so like regular seats. Things of that nature, like access, like you mentioned, on the field, they're spoiled rotten. I mean, it's. I admit it. It's not right. I almost feel bad for them moving forward because they're going to come days when this is what it is, and this is what it should have been the whole time. But you just don't realize that. But no, I don't. They're not. They haven't started with the want to go to this, want to go to that. I think they would love to, but thankfully they haven't directed that towards me as should have or should be going, which is something I guess I should be a little more grateful for.
Yeah, well, be grateful because my son, I don't think he's like mad at me for not taking him to the Super Bowl. He just doesn't understand why we can't go.
Yeah.
And like I tried to explain to him that, money and also geography. Well, my sister, Blair, lives in California. We can stay with Aunt Ba, which is what my son has been calling her since he was, 18 months old. We can stay with Aunt Ba and go to the game. We're saving money. You don't have to even get a hotel.
Steal.
Needless to say, Blair lives in Los Angeles, and the game is in Santa Clara, in which case he thinks that the drive from Los Angeles to Santa Clara is the equivalent of us driving to Lake Martin. It's not really the same, but in his world, as we looked at the map last night, he goes, well, it's like an inch. Like, so that how far isn't, and he does it like in Birmingham, and I'm like, that's not an inch, bud. That's like we just went to Jacksonville in that distance. Like and he turned 7 4 days ago, so we're just grappling with the realities right now.
It's all part of it.
And I'm grateful that we have access to the things that you referenced. Like you said, like we can go to a lot of sporting events. And I grew up in a sporting household in which I knew no limitations either. Like my dad, I grew up in a locker room. I've been to Stanley Cup Finals games. I've been to World Series games. Like I've been very fortunate because my dad has worked in that industry. Like we always sat in great seats at the Cowboy game. I didn't know those seats cost money until I was 21 years old. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, and he's growing up with a little bit of a false sense of reality. But yeah, I don't think I'm a bad dad for not taking the Super Bowl, but I've definitely disappointed my son this week. Yeah. And it's a tough reality to grapple with. My son thinks I'm a total loser.
Have you guys decided to change your Super Bowl viewing habits any differently as your kids have gotten older? Are you going to like build anything around it? Do you make sure you watch more of it? Is it like because as the years go on, it becomes a little bit more different. They get more into it. They care about it a little bit more. Will it be different for you guys this year?
I think we're going to introduce squares to the children this year.
Boy, here we go.
Oh boy, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to introduce squares.
Just put a roulette wheel there in the living room while you're at it. Why not?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the concern about squares is obviously the chances of winning are very slim, right? It's not, if I were advising someone on their finances, participating in square games around the Super Bowl, not something that's highly advisable. So I can see it right now, middle of the second quarter, my 7-year-old being really angry, being the competitor that he is, that he hasn't won yet. That's my only concern here. So we're thinking about introducing squares and, a quarter per square. Winner gets however many dollars, $15 or whatever, and kind of see how he likes that. I think we might have some action there.
A little blackjack at halftime, maybe.
Son, this is the pass line.
Not sure we're quite.
This is the come line.
You don't want to split zero, son. It's not worth it. Stay away
Not
from
sure
the
we're
green.
quite to that point yet. Yeah. Probably by 9th birthday, we'll have a good, solid comprehension of the way to maximize your odds and craps.
At that point, you teach double down.
There you go. Yeah. A lot of these, like my 5-year-old told me randomly last night he wants his birthday party to be a golf birthday party, just out of nowhere, and he wants to go to the golf course that they play, par 3 they play on. I'm like, I don't even know how many of your friends can swing a club, but hey,
not about that.
Have at it.
Not about that.
You can go to the McElroy, whatever we talked about yesterday, Greg.
Yeah, McElroy
thing. Yeah.
Maybe
yours. Go and rent that.
Maybe your theme will be just casino night for the kids for his next birthday party. Just roll the dice over in the corner. Get a little like you said, some craps roulette. Just start with war. Yet,
right? Yeah,
we're gambling. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
$1 a hand.
We do have family game night, and he has beaten us in Yahtzee, so that's the closest thing to it, I suppose.
It's a good start.
God, my daughter smoked me in Crazy Eights 3 straight games last night before bed. Really? I was so mad. And she's gotten that little thing where she was like, "I win," and like what she's doing. Yeah, and she's like, it's harmless to her. And third time, she goes, "I win." Be. Yeah, she was like, "I win 3 in a row. Looks like I'm the best." And I was like, "Good night, sweetheart."
Yep. Go to bed now. Turn your light off. Yep. I don't want to see you until the morning. Yeah. Yes.
It does make you think about some of those games that we played as kids, though, and it's kind of like you have to tell yourself this is all chance. There's really not a lot of skill involved here.
Yep.
So we've moved from war to Go Fish or Crazy Eights or other games. We play cards before she goes to bed. That's like our thing. So, and we'll have games of war that'll go on for weeks at a time. Like we'll just pause it. I'm like, you have to go to sleep now. We've been playing this for 45 minutes. You should have been in bed 30 ago. But yeah, last night she smoked me 3 in a row, and I'm just like, okay, this is it. I can't. Dad's mad.
One more.
But we're done. Yeah. But that's kind of where we are. All right. So will you guys watch it more? Like, see, for me, I'm thinking because my daughter's not into sports really at all. She kind of doesn't care. And I think part of it is she's forced to go to so many games to watch that she's just like, I'm over it. Don't care.
Yeah.
But this is kind of the perfect storm because for her, this is where we get annoyed a little bit by the commercials and people talk about them and like who really cares. Halftime show. Okay, maybe we'll watch whatever. Like this is where her dynamic is completely fueled. And the boys can get involved in all of it. And then I get the actual football.
Right.
So it's almost like I was telling my wife, I was like, I think we need to start building this thing up like as a family viewing day, like make it the most of it, which Kat's always made certain things. She'll make her sausage balls on Super Bowl Sunday. She always has. But I'm thinking now we kind of reel it in as a family. Everybody can get involved, excited about it. So we're going to try to kind of hype it up this year, see how it goes. We'll see. But I don't know. Maybe they'll be into it. Maybe they won't. You're in Tuscaloosa, though, G-Mac. What are you in Tuscaloosa for today?
I will be speaking to the team today. Here coming up in about 90 minutes or so. Going to have a visit with the Tide and just kind of talk to them about just playing for the Tide and what it means to me and what it means to the program and all those things. So really looking forward to seeing the 2026 version of Alabama here up close. Got here early this morning. Already saw a bunch of folks. It's funny how the calendar has shifted. And the daily itinerary has shifted for a lot of these football programs now with morning meetings. I mean, I used to roll over here. I've done the show from this building 100 times. And I used to roll over here and it would be no man's land. And now the whole parking lot's full. It's like everybody now with the morning routine is it's different, but it's cool, man. Really looking forward to it and visiting with Coach DeBoer and seeing what this team's gonna be all about, man. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be really, really good. It's always an honor to be able to come back home and kind of talk about your experiences. And I think it's hard too, Cole. Like you remember as a player, I'm sure when former players came back and spoke, or former players would come visit, and maybe they'd address the team or address the position group, whatever. I feel like when I was a kid, it was not for me, it was never in one ear out the other. Like I always paid great tribute to, Kenny Stabler when he would come and speak, or whoever it was, or Namath when he was in town, or Brody, or whoever, anybody. But I don't want to be that guy that's like such a has-been. That these guys are like rolling their eyes through the back of their head because of how out of touch this former player is. So it'll be a delicate balance, but hopefully they can gain a little something just from my perspective, having played here and living here and covering the team the way I do. And then we'll talk a little media and how the media can help you and how we can be your friend. Like we're not your enemy. Like I know. In my day, the media was the enemy. We're not that way, especially the former players. Like we want to help you. We want to spin it the right way. We want to tell the story the right way and try to be on their side because we wore that helmet at some point or another.
Yeah, I was going to ask if yours is sort of themed. Like if there's a, hey, this is how the media works. This is what I look for. This is things that if you said we would have to discuss and talk about that's most likely going to be problematic for you. Is it maybe what Alabama football has done for you in your life? Because I haven't been asked to go back and speak to a team like this. I have been asked to speak to some high school teams and some other teams. But I didn't know if it was going to be a little bit more along the lines of one specific thing. Is it just kind of you in general, motivational, whatever that is? Because I could see I was going to ask how organized it's going to be, like how you're going to kind of go one direction. How much do you have planned? How much do you have maybe that you wrote out of saying this is what I want to make sure we cover? Take questions, anything of that nature. Because it's like you said, you could go so many different directions, and you're not going to have time to do all of it. So I've always, when I see these guys going back and talking to the places that they played, I've always wondered what's the message that the staff wants them to deliver, and then how themed is it going to be as far as just one in particular direction?
Always themed, like you're brought in for a reason. Like you have a specific expertise. Like my specific expertise is covering teams, covering players, telling specific stories about players, getting to know the guys, like understanding what makes them tick. And you and I are fortunate every Saturday to go on the air and tell stories about who these guys are and why they do what they do and how a play is executed and how it should be executed and why this was a great play, why this might have been a mistake, what have you. So it's a thrill to obviously do that for a living. So we'll talk about that. I'm sure I'm going to visit with Kalen beforehand to see exactly kind of where he wants the message to go. I have some ideas. I think the biggest thing that I really want the kids to know is like removing the unbiased ESPN analyst for a moment, like, I'm so proud of every guy that decides to go to Alabama. Like, at the end of the day, I'm sure you have a similar feeling with Auburn. Like, the guys that choose to go to your school, like, I'm already proud of what these guys. I don't care if they win the national I want them to win the national championship, of course. I want them to win as many games as they can, but like, the fact that they love my school the way I love my school already makes me proud of them. Like, they feel a little bit like sons in a way with how we cover them and how we get to know them. You want to protect them, you want to point out where they can improve sometimes, perhaps, but like, you want to protect them, and you love them, and you're grateful to them for wanting to go and carry on the legacy that you helped contribute to the people that came before you, and what they helped contribute to. But I get a little frustrated from time to time when people say, the standard is the standard. Like, to me, the standard is your standard. Like, not everyone's standard is the same. Like, our team standards in 2006, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are very different than that of the standards of the teams between, 2001 and 2004. Like, they're very different from the teams between 96 and 99. Very different from the teams between 83 and 87. Like, to me, you just gotta, like, go and be your best. Like, don't worry about who the heck came before you. Don't worry about what the expectation levels are. Like, go do right by each other. You know what I mean? I think that's lost a little bit nowadays in college football, because every team starts so fresh every year. Everything's so new every year. It's just so hard to carry over year over year. It's just impossible. So, like, whatever the best version of this team can be, like, just try to strive for that level. That to me is so important, because I think sometimes, and I noticed it last year with last year's team, and I don't know if you saw the same thing, felt like when things started to get a little sideways, it got a little tight from time to time, because the guys are trying to live up to the expectations of the teams that dominated in the 2010s. Yeah, that's not where they're at right now. Like don't worry about them. That's not important. Like, you be you. Go be your best version of yourself. And I think that's something I really hope that they can gather from today's conversation as well too, because like, we're already so proud of them. Like, just go shoot your shot, man. Like, go rip it. Like, go make it happen, and good things will happen because you're good. Like, good things will happen if you just go out there and let it rip. And that's kind of what I want to talk about a little bit today as well.
All right, we'll mention more on that, and you saying, being proud of guys that choose to play there and that are a part of the program. It's interesting, because I think when people hear that and hear the portal, some people would say, like, you really are, you're buying into a guy that's just there for a year, and this is not just Alabama, but anywhere. Some comments recently came out as it pertains to the Super Bowl along these lines that I want to discuss, because you and I have been sort of caught up in similar instances with our careers now and what we did prior, and I want to get the folks' thought on it. We've got Robert on hold. If you can hang tight through the break, Robert, because I do want to hear what you have to say about a potential golf birthday party, because this might, I guess, be a real thing for us now. So I do want to hear that. We've got plenty to talk about with college football. A lot of things that are happening that are making noise. We'll get to those across the course of the show today. Chris Stewart's going to join us at 9 a.m. today to preview Alabama and Auburn on the basketball court this weekend. So we have a lot to get to, and you may have a lot to get to with your kids, your family, because the flu's going around, and you may be trying to manage that in your home. If you're not and you don't want to, make sure your home is healthier with Trane's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. Removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus, 100 times more effective than standard air filters, 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. Find a dealer near you at Trane.com. And remember, it's hard to stop a train. Back with more Mac and Cube right after this on Jocks. We have more news on college athletic department debt that we'll get to today. How alarming is this? Is there one instance that people are making a lot of that maybe is a one-off? We'll discuss that. Traction being gained for the college football season to start week 0, good, bad, indifferent. Greg Sankey has spoken on the Charles Bediako situation. We'll get that during the course of the show today. Preview Auburn, Alabama basketball, or will we? We discussed this earlier in the week. Like, how far do we go with this?
The Iron Bowl of basketball?
I don't know what that is, but Alabama will be playing Auburn in basketball this weekend, and we'll discuss that. And to the best of our ability, we will begin to preview it. We'll at least have a conversation about it. But there are actually a lot of things happening in college football. Super Bowl is also Sunday, so we'll discuss all those things. Quickly, I want to go to Robert in Pelham, who wants to discuss a potential golf birthday party. Welcome into the show, Robert.
Yeah, thank you very much. Cole, man, I was just sitting here thinking about what you got going on with your little boy. What may be the better route is to, you got things like the Back Nine and Golfus, which are indoor golf simulators. You may be able to keep those boys contained in an area and put them in line as far as, now it's your turn, instead of having a bunch of little kids running around all over the tee box and being outside and getting cold and sick, depending on when their birthday or when his birthday party is.
Yeah, it's a summer birthday, so weather wouldn't be a big issue.
Okay.
So, yeah, which is even more hilarious that he's bringing it up now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it was just a thought. And, if you just want to keep them a little bit in order, that might be better. And then you can have all your stuff right there at you instead of all over the place.
No, could be nice. I appreciate that. We could just go to Greg's house. Yep. He has the giant golf simulator, I think, with like an actual bunker in his house to practice out of.
Well, I don't know if it's a bunker in the traditional sense. It's where the dogs go to the restroom. It might be like an outdoor, like dog litter, cat litter type setup.
You can use it for whatever you want, though. So
yeah,
I found it interesting because you brought up you're going to be speaking to the Alabama football team today, and you kind of were discussing like being proud of the guys that played there. And I think some fans would hear that and say, yeah, it's like, hey, they're there. But these guys coming on this 1-year rental thing, how proud of you are them, or transfer portal guys? Like it's just a little bit different than it once was. And something similar that has taken place recently are Tom Brady's comments about his rooting interest in this year's Super Bowl. And some of his former teammates have gotten a little bit aggravated that he's not necessarily rooting for the Patriots. And I think it does go a little bit further than that because it's not just rooting for the Patriots. It's rooting for a guy that he shared a locker room with in New England that is now the head coach of the Patriots. This brings into play some of the things that you and I have issues with occasionally, and that is people who think we hate the teams that we played for and people who think that we love the teams that we play for, people who think we only pick the teams that we played for, and reverse that, vice versa, back and forth. Based on some of the comments you heard coming out from Brady this week, now him being a member of the media, which becomes more convoluted since he's a partial owner of an NFL franchise, which I don't think I'm ever going to back down from. I disagree with and don't think is right for him to be in the situation that he's in as a broadcaster and an analyst of the NFL, but nonetheless is what it is. It's happening, so good for him. Where do you stand on kind of his former teammates being frustrated, aggravated with him on saying, I don't have a rooting interest in this year's Super Bowl. I'm neutral. Hope everybody has fun, basically.
The NFL is different, dude. Like, it's different. Like, it's I'm raising my kids as Jet fans because I had a great experience as a Jet. Now, it was short-lived, relatively speaking. But I love Rex Ryan still, even when he had to let me go because I tore my PCL in my last game and in a Jets uniform. Like he was beside himself. Like he really didn't want to. He had to though because they needed a backup and Sanchez was hurt and I couldn't play. So like, and the way Woody Johnson handled it, the owner, like, and the way he treated us. So like I had a great experience, but I think, frankly, that is not really the norm. I think there are a lot of guys that don't have a great experience or a lot of, regardless of, like, how you feel about it, there's always, like, a little bit of animosity when, look, does Peyton Manning love the Indianapolis Colts? For sure. Does he blame the Indianapolis Colts for what happened at the end of his run? He got hurt. They had the first overall pick. They had to pick the future. They take Andrew Luck. He had an opportunity to go elsewhere. He ends up in Denver, wins a Super Bowl. Brady, similar situation. Like they're like there's kind of at odds, and I know Brady kind of loves New England, of course, loved the time there, loved winning all the Super Bowls, but it's a job. It's like I worked at SiriusXM before I came over here to Jocks, and I still subscribe to SiriusXM. I like the content that I get on SiriusXM, but I'm not actively rooting for their company to succeed. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sitting there saying like, oh man, I really hope Sirius's stock goes to the moon. Like, I think it's totally understandable. It's a job. Like, and when you leave that job, like, you stop caring. It's not like college where it's such a huge part of your identity that it never leaves you. You know, I think that's the difference. And I think people have a hard time with that because fandom is a little bit short for fanatic. And some guys might feel differently about it, but no, I think the NFL is a job. And if you have a rooting interest for your former employer, then like that's kind of strange.
Crazy to think about, though, how different it is. And, you know, you attend school somewhere, you're a little bit more invested in that academically, socially than you are when you play in the NFL. And the fact also, too, like my first response to this when I thought about it inside of my brain was, would they be mad at him if he wasn't rooting for the Bucs? Should he be 50-50 fan, Bucs Patriots? Should he be 60-40 fan, Bucs Patriots? What if Bucs and Patriots are playing each other? Well, who do we root for then? But I do think with this one, though, it's probably a little bit more personal of the relationship with Vrabel and kind of what that meant at a certain point in time. And that's what I think some of the former guys are looking at and a little bit frustrated about. I could see if you and I or one of us were working an Alabama or Auburn game and it was a big game, and because we're working it, we're like, listen, man, I can't take a rooting interest into this when I talk about this game. Some guys that we played with being like, hold on, man, like what are you talking about? Like, you got to be like, we played together. We're in that locker room together. Like, how can you do this? I also think there are a lot of former players that we played with that would understand it. Like, this is now their job. This is what they do for a career. You have to be very careful there. It's a little bit of a fine line, and this one has a little bit of a tangled web because of now his invested interests, literally, not only invested in NFL franchise financially, but being paid to be an analyst of the NFL and discuss the teams and the games and how they're going to go and what they're going to be. So to come out and just say I'm rooting for a team, it would begin to dissolve certain things that he's going to talk about a little bit later, and it would sort of water those down, and that's understandable. So, and then also maybe just his brain is like, I don't root for teams when I watch football games. Because a lot of times when you go through as much football as he has in his career, imagine the amount of times he's not watching a live game, but watching two teams play on a screen. And you and I see this a lot, Greg, but he has no rooting interest in it. Like, he's watching the Indianapolis defense against the Carolina offense for hours. He's watching the Denver defense against the Kansas City offense for hours and does not care. Does not care if the pass rush gets home, doesn't care if the receivers get open. Just literally show me what's happening. Let me get an idea of how to attack this or how to play this, and then move on to the next one. Okay, now we're watching the Raiders against the Giants, and we're going to move on to that one. So his brain probably wired in a little bit of a different way of, I don't consume football that way anymore. There's probably a lot less fandom for him than people realize. And I think that's hard for some people to grasp. Like you said, fans short for fanatic. So he's going to have a tough time just sort of being in maybe even a fan role now based on how he consumed football for such a long period of time.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, it's hard to, and I always say this, when you're playing, okay, when you're playing, and Cole, you can relate to this. I think a lot of people listening can relate to this. It doesn't even matter how far you went as an athlete. If you played any sport, if it was, you could have done gymnastics in the 6th grade. You could have done, you could have played middle school basketball. The older you get, you realize the shorter the time frame is. So the pain of defeat is heavier When you're in high school and then when you're in college, it's even more significant because there's more people relying on you. And then you get to the NFL and it's significant because your livelihood is on the line. Like, the pain of defeat is so significant when you lose a game. Like, I know that there are fans right now saying that, wait, hang on a second. Like, when Bama and or Auburn loses, like, I'm looking for the tallest bridge. Like, I'm losing my mind. Like, I understand that. But when you work 7 days a week and every second of your week is dedicated towards trying to create an advantage and win the game on Saturday and or Sunday, it's like a drug. It's like being an addict to an extent, to an outcome, to the adrenal rush that you get when you strap it up on game day. And when you lose that game, it is beyond devastating. Like, it is like, you go into the facility the next day and it's like a funeral. It's awful. And you know it. Like, so once you live week to week the way you live as a professional athlete or as a college athlete, when you live week to week with the intensity of defeat and feeling that defeat, it's really, really hard to materialize that same level of emotion when you get out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, when Bama loses now, I'm very disappointed. But the next day, hey, life is good. When we lost to South Carolina in 2010, I literally thought I was going to die. I've never been more hurt. Like, never been more. It's the first loss I'd ever had. Like, I've never been more disappointed. I've never hurt more. And nothing that happens now, even if we lost in the most heartbreaking fashion as a fan, because I did not dedicate 7 days of my week to that performance. I dedicated 3.5 hours towards watching the game. It's just not the same for me. So I think Brady might feel that way too. Like, once you've lived it and it's like your whole world revolves around winning and losing a game, well, now his whole world doesn't revolve around winning and losing a game. Like, just a small piece of his world revolves around that. So it's hard to have the same level of intensity towards the fandom that you did as a player.
Absolutely. Steven wants to chime in on Brady in this situation. He's on the Higginbotham Hotline. Welcome into the show, Steven.
Hey, it's just a little bit different as a Patriots fan. You know, Tom won 6 Super Bowls with the Patriots. I get, like, the Jets comparison, Greg. But, you know, if you had won 2 Super Bowls with the Jets, you'd probably feel a little bit different. But if you had won 6, you'd probably feel really different. He also has a statue there. I mean, it's like Cam Newton going against Auburn. I think a lot of Auburn fans would have a big issue with that.
For sure, but it's still where he collected his paycheck. Like, it's still a transactional relationship. More so than... I understand very much. Like, does it feel weird? Probably, yeah. Like, I get it. But at the same time, like, that was a momentary... that was a 15, 20-year moment in time that was really, really impactful, really special. So I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, like, I can understand why he doesn't feel as intensely about the relationship as he probably does towards Michigan. I bet you he cares far more about Michigan than he does about the Patriots. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's just, it's a job. And I'm not saying he shouldn't care, and it sounds weird and backwards, but it's a job at the end of the day. Cole, you see it the same way?
Yeah, and I think when you're getting, I mean, it's hard to even have this conversation a little bit more now because you say, well, when you're getting paid, well, the college kids are getting paid now. So it's much more job-like for them than it ever has been. Like you mentioned all the vehicles that are in the parking lot early in the morning at the facility. It wasn't to that extent anywhere near to that extent when you and I played college football because it wasn't built as a career near as much as it is now. So even that is different. But it's always going to be hard if you're a fan of one team in a specific sport, doesn't matter what sport it is. You could be a Magic fan for the NBA, and when you talk about that team, it's going to be different for other people that are not just a fan of that team. Like, you are emotionally invested in a different way. Your expectations for that team and how people should feel about them if they were also a fan or played there at one point in time. Like, you'd probably be pissed if Shaq said, I'm not for the Magic. Well, he played for the Heat. He played for the Lakers. Like, It's different. So he doesn't have that investment across the course of time like you do. So I think that's where it becomes really confusing is the expectation of the emotional investment to be the same. And it just isn't. It's not. It never will be because they don't share it the same way that you do. But I do understand where I go back to the share in the locker room and teammate aspect of this, and that's where I think specifically some of his old guys, their frustration that has come out from this, I think that's where that's coming from. It's like, hold on, like that's one of our guys right there. Like, you should be rooting for your guy.
Totally fair.
Like that's that, and I think he could have maybe separated that a little bit. Like, hey, I would love to see Mike go win a Super Bowl. Like, he deserves this. The things we went through, things he taught me from a defensive standpoint, playing the leadership he showed, he deserves this. I want him to get one. Not, I don't sit around and root for the Patriots anymore. Don't really care about, the logo per se, but would love for Mike to get one. I think this would be probably being digested a little bit differently if it had come out that way.
I think that's totally fair. Because what do we always say now? Like, people are always like, how can you pull for Auburn? Like, how can you support Auburn? Like, how can you want them to win all but one game a year? And it's because I love Kirk Sampson. It's because I love, Bruce and Stephen Pearl. Like, it's because I love you. I love Hugh Freeze. Like, I've had a great relationship with Hugh Freeze. Like, I love DJ Durkin. Like, sometimes it's people over places in some ways. Like, you can look beyond the jersey color, and that sounds insane. I get that. But it's people over places. Like, there are, like, I did not grow up an A&M fan at all. I root for A&M every single week, except for when they play Bama, because I love Mike Elko and have a great relationship with Mike Elko. You know what I mean? It's like, it's people over places. That's why I do think it's completely fair for him to be receiving a little bit of the criticism. I still understand the differences, but, like, that's your guy. Like, you went through it with that guy. You threw touchdowns to that guy in the Super Bowl. Like, that would be hard. So, for example, like, I root a lot for the Houston Texans. I never played with D'Amico. Never played with him, but got to know D'Amico over the course of time and think he's just a first-class human being and represents Alabama in a tremendous way. I rooted for him while he was playing, root for him now as a coach. Like, I will always root for D'Amico Ryans. Like, it's people over players. So I guess I do understand to that extent why he has been the recipient of some criticism, but I also understand why he feels the way he feels.
No, I was actually going to respond to something you just said. I'll do it when we come back. This job forces you to view things in that different way. We'll follow that up after this on Jocks. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. It is 7:44 Friday, February the 6th. McElroy in Tuscaloosa inside the Alabama facility. He'll be speaking to the Crimson Tide football team later today. We still have a lot more to get to, both college football and Super Bowl, NFL, college basketball. You can be a part of the show, 800-239-9569. You can also text into the show, 205-834-9450. Tweet in at Mac and Cube. If you want to listen online, jocksfm.com. App is in your app store, iPhone, Android. Download that for free, and you can listen on the go. That'll direct you to the YouTube page as well, where you can watch us every morning. Search Jocks945, or tell your home smart speaker to just enable the Jocks skill.
Bill Smith Buick GMC is the GMC Dealer of the Year, the national champion of GMC dealers. I cannot tell you how much I love these guys right now. They just took care of my wife's car. My wife is like, we are only ever buying from Bill Smith because of how well they treated her. I was like, babe, that was already the case, but I'm glad that you feel even more strongly about it. Even went as far as to text Jonathan Yeager and Andy Cole and Kennedy, the guy that handles their service department. Man, they just take such great care of you. Every single person in their home, every single person under their roof, I guess you could call it their home. I mean, they treat everyone like family. They just go the extra mile to make sure that your experience is a 10 plus. That's why we're repeat customers. That's why I know you guys will be going up there and getting a great deal just like we got. I have a buddy that's actually going to go up there and buy a new 2500, and you can get it right now. 97,000 and change is the list price. You can get that GMC Sierra 2500 for 85,000. It's deals like that to keep people coming back. To take $12,000 off a car that is in serious demand is remarkable. But they can do it because they sell so many vehicles, more than anyone in the entire Southeast. So take the short drive to Coleman. You'll be glad you did. I-65, exit 310, Highway 31. Or you can shop online, have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
You know, it was interesting you brought up what this job does, and it's one of the main lessons that I've shared with folks over time, GMAC, in that when you cover teams, you essentially then cover people. When you cover people, you learn about them as human beings, not just football players. And it's one thing that, honestly, at certain points in time has become a little bit difficult for me. Number one, you can't just go out and state it publicly. You can't have public conversations about it, in particular when you're covering that game, that team with that player. However, I have found that it becomes much more rooting for people than it does teams. I can go back to conversations that I've had with Xavier Legette, Demetrius Knight, different guys across college football, meeting Lynn Bowden, talking to Xavier Restrepo before the Pop-Tarts Bowl a couple of years ago, and you didn't know enough about them. You had not met them. You had not had personal conversations with them, and you learned about their background, their life, and all of a sudden, it's impossible not to root for them. It's impossible not to want to see them have success and do good things. Luke Altmaier was a great example in bowl season this year. I mean, I had done some Ole Miss games where he was the backup, had not had a real conversation with him since he left Oxford. I actually had somewhat of a bad taste in my mouth about him because of what I heard about him from coaches actually in Oxford during his time there, and was thinking, this is an orthopedic surgeon's kid. This is a quarterback, highly coveted quarterback recruit. And then we spent about 40 minutes on the phone with him before the bowl game this year, and I'm thinking, I want this dude to win. I want this dude to have success. I want this guy to get an NFL opportunity. I love his attitude. I love where he's come, how he's grown as a person, him sharing that with us. And that. I don't know if it's the great thing or if it's the most difficult thing about this job, because one thing it does is force you to root more for people than it does teams. Now, has that gotten in the way of any of my coverage? I don't think so, because I think what I spend that to is sharing those stories and how cool they are with other people and allowing them to maybe get to know a little bit about that person as well. But that's one of the things that my eyes, I guess, have been open to in this job, is that you're going to root for people more than you are teams and logos.
Yes, and it doesn't change the fact that you're going to root for your team. Like, you can, as crazy as it may sound, it is possible to have a rooting interest in favor of more than one team. I know that's crazy. I know that's backwards. My son is a perfect example, who considers himself a diehard Notre Dame and Alabama fan, which to me is as backwards as it gets. But he pulls it off. I'm not sure how. But it really is that's what it comes down to. Like, the places that I loathed as a player, I now have great appreciation for. It's wild, but it does happen that way. as I've gotten older, I appreciate the experience I get when I go to Neyland and experience Knoxville. It's one of my favorite college towns in America. I just love it. I love going up there. I enjoy visiting with Joey Halsley, like their offensive coordinator. Like, he's just a really good dude. Like, I mean, there's a million examples of that. And those guys were the enemy, for forever. Yeah. And that's just not the case. It's people over places, because you want to see good people succeed. You really do. And that should be no different than anybody that we talk to in any line of work. Like, good people, I want success for sure.
I don't think there's any doubt. Jason in Pelham wants to chime in on the Brady situation. Welcome into the show, Jason. You're on the Higginbotham Hotline.
Hey, guys. Brady is, he's such a unique guy in this situation. Kind of like you said, Cole. It's like you either love Brady or you hate him. 6'6", super handsome, but he's kind of got this playboy lifestyle. He puts himself in these crazy situations, but the way that people kind of view him, it's really love or hate. But, I like the guy. I've always liked him as a quarterback. But when I watch him, he's such a competitor, and I can hear it in his voice. It doesn't matter what team in the NFL it is. He gets so excited. I imagine over time he'll try to reel that in a little bit, but he's such a fan of the game that I don't really see him rooting for anybody. It doesn't strike me as someone that, kind of likes the guy, that he's pulling for anybody over someone else. I hear him call the game. I hear him get excited about different, the guy's he's one of the best to ever do it. It's hard to deny his knowledge, which is, I think, why he's in there, as a broadcaster is, his resume is just unbelievable. You can't deny him. But as an owner, like, look at Jerry Jones. He turned a franchise into a monster, and it didn't take much winning to do it. So from that aspect, I just think, if you see a good investment, you take a good investment. And I think that's what he did with the ownership aspect. I don't think he has to root for them to win just to be successful in that, operation.
Yeah, totally fair, Jason. I think where you went even further with is just how complicated he personally is in this entire situation. One of the more unique former athletes of our time, because he now has ownership in a franchise. He's an analyst on television, he makes more than any analyst ever. Correct? I can think of anybody who's at any sport.
I think 37 million a year.
Probably clears that hurdle.
Everybody by just a pretty decent amount. Yeah.
Maybe he's
doubling up.
Any other collection of analysts at any other company.
More than any two feels like.
He might be more than. So, and then how successful he was at a player at two different franchises, and then just him as a human also. Like he is just beyond unique in a lot of different ways. The love him or hate him is interesting. Do you think Brady is that far down the line? We'll talk about it more next right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 7:55. Going to get to a little more conversation on Brady. We'll take your calls, 800-239-9569. Tweet in at Mac and Cube. We will preview Alabama-Auburn in basketball this weekend as well. That comes up at 9 a.m. this morning. Going to have to wait for that, but one thing you never have to wait for, GMAC, is your dental care. That's
because Family Care Dental has you taken care of at the urgent care office. You can be seen the same day. They do an amazing job of just making sure that they can get you in, see you the same day. If you have an emergency, they can get you taken care of. They can also see you on Fridays and Saturdays. So Hoover, Fultondale, Homewood, Alabaster, and Trussville. Find a location near you, and they can get you in by calling 874-9605. That's Family Care Dental, 874-9605.
All right, we continue hour number 2 with a little bit more college football. We will finish our conversation on Brady and sort of rooting interests. We'll talk more Super Bowl 60 today. But there is momentum that is being gained on starting the entire college football season week 0. Good idea, bad idea? We'll discuss that. SEC revenue distribution at an all-time high. We'll discuss that when we return. There's an interesting name now involved in the Charles Bediako situation at Alabama. We'll give you some of those comments, what's happening with that. Some other college football or college athletic departments suffering from a revenue standpoint. How alarming should that be? We'll discuss all that and more when we come back next right here on Jocks.